This is the review for Bandai's reissue of the 1980 Takatoku VF-1 Valkyrie mold. This is probably one of my favorite figures of all time. Not because it does everything perfectly, but because it's just satisfying to play with. Now this is the fighter mode, and it's quite nice. It doesn't look quite as good or as anime accurate as some of the later figures, but this is also the first attempt at a Valkyrie figure, and it was made in the 1980s, the early 1980s. And that being said, from its time period, this is one of the most amazing figures of all time. I mean, especially since its articulation is in many ways comparable to even modern figures. Now, the fighter mode is not perfect, as I will demonstrate here. I'm putting my fingers under the middle of the fuselage, and you see that movement? That's a shame. I wish they had put a little bit more thought into it and put a tab under this piece that pegs into the legs here. That would have fixed this up perfectly and made this a perfect figure. Not as far as aesthetics, but as far as everything it does perfectly. So the jet mode, the fighter mode, it has that as a problem, but it's not as bad as you might think. If you hold it by the legs here, you're never going to run into that problem, even if you hold it upside down, because there's enough friction between the legs holding onto the arms that this fuselage won't flop. Now, as far as the nice things about this jet mode, it has a variable wingspan, nice clicky joints too. It has spring-loaded landing gear, really powerful too, and it has an interior in the cockpit. As simplistic as it may be, it's still nice to have. And while the cockpit doesn't open, it does remove. And the reason why it removes is for the heat shield in Batroid mode. Now the landing gear rolls really well, but you're not going to be able to see this because of the towel I have for contrast, so you can see the figure better. And speaking of the landing gear, it is die-cast. Very free rolling too. And actually a lot of this figure is die-cast. The inside of the legs, the landing gear, these struts in here, and some hinges on the inside, like what connects the arms to the fuselage, and this bar right here that makes a hinge on the fuselage. Now to transform this into Garrock mode, you'll fold in the tails and rotate this up. As you can see, this is very springy. It doesn't flop like on older samples of this figure. And honestly, I don't know how you would get this to flop in the first place, because it's spring-loaded and it doesn't take much wear when it moves. It takes almost no wear. Now to continue, fold the wings back, and this is so that they'll be out of the way, and so you'll know exactly where to put the wings in Garrock mode, because they will bump into the arms a little bit. Put up the landing gear. And then pop the legs forward. And then pop out the arms. And because of that floppiness and the fuselage I told you about, you want the arms to be at an angle. And the reason for this is because otherwise there's pressure put on the fuselage that will push it up. And I don't know that if it would actually cause any problems down the line, but I'd rather not risk it. Then you fold the legs up and set them back into position. Open the feet, rotate the arms down, and fold out the hands. Finally, fold the wings back out, and there you have quite nice Garrock mode. In this mode, this figure can hold its gun pod very securely, although the gun pod's a little bit too long and it will bump into his bicep. I wish this, rather than being a handle, had been a peg, so I could rotate out a little bit so this could fit under and through his shoulder, and that way it would have worked a lot better. You can see that happening in later Valkyrie figures. You also can use this gun clip, which clips right here onto the arm and is storage for the gun pod. You can either store forward, which looks kind of cool. It's an underslung gun, but for enemy accuracy, it's supposed to be backwards, because this is how the gun pod's stored in Batroid mode. Oh yes, concerning the gun pod, it also comes with these missiles, and this gun pod is very powerful. It can shoot those missiles straight up from the ground, 9 feet up. It is super powerful. Transform to Batroid mode, fold up the wings, take the legs, snap them forward, turn this figure around, put these so they have a little notch they sit into, push this in here, and then slide this down. This is the chest plate. A lot of people complain about the chest plate feeling fragile, but it's not. It's connected by thin plastic, but it would be almost impossible to get the leverage to actually damage it. So, be as careful with this figure as you think you need to be. I don't think you need to be that careful with that joint. I've had this for quite a while, and I've never had any issues with it. Continuing on, fold the fuselage in half, and it clips in very nicely. Fold this up, straighten out the legs, and rotate the arms into place. And here you have a beautiful robot, not robot mode, Batroid mode. In this mode, its shoulders go up and down, not at an angle like in Garrock mode, but straight through. The shoulders go in and out, and has a lateral bicep swivel. I mean, this is a 1980s figure. Those are modernly jointed arms. You won't find anything better except maybe an elbow where the arm goes maybe a little bit up here, and even that's non-standard even today. This is amazing articulation in the arms. The head will go left and right. There's a little bit of wiggle, but it's not really useful. The legs are a bit more disappointing, but they do their job. They go forward at the hip and back, knees, same thing. And this is a beautiful figure. Now, you can take out the canopy and replace it with his blast shield, but I don't really like how it looks. It doesn't look bad, it looks bland. Maybe it's because that red is a bad plastic for this, bad colored plastic. Maybe it's just I don't like the blast shields. But that's about it. It's an amazing figure, and I really like it. Thanks for watching.